Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Skye and today I'm going to be showing you my go-to glowy base routine. Also, yes, change my hair color. Do you like it? I love it. I've already done some of my eye makeup today just so you have something a little bit more interesting to look at, but we're going to go through my favorite products to do something very glowy, very beautiful, almost natural in a way, dare I say. I really love the look of glowy skin. It's something that I've been really falling in love with this year. And let me just get right on into it, I guess. I don't think I've ever done like a base routine with y'all, so this is gonna be fun. The first product we're gonna be using is the Honest Beauty Mattifying Primer. One of my friends gifted this to me because she has dry skin, so she didn't really have a need for a matte primer, and since I have oily skin, I thought, yeah, I'll take it off your hands. Normally I like to use a hydrating primer because I find that hydrating primers work better with my oily skin. I've mentioned this many times before. I feel like this routine will be especially useful to those of you with oily skin like myself because we have to be careful, us oily skinned people. Because sometimes if you use too many glowy products, your skin just gets oily faster, stuff breaks up easily, but this is my foolproof routine. Okay, we have now primed the skin all nicely, and we're gonna get into our foundation product. Now, I don't wear foundation. The only foundation product I wear, I mean, say it with me, the Auric Glow Lust. I'm in the shade Selenite, and I adore this stuff. I've mentioned it in my current favorites video. I just love it. So I like to apply a pump and a half on the back of my hand, and I like to mix it up with my finger and then dot it on my face. I find that if I apply too much of this, it's just a little bit too glowy. So I like to apply a thin layer all over my face. I like to apply with my finger first and then blend out with a sponge. I really love this Glow Lust because it's hydrating, but it doesn't make me greasy or oily faster. It kind of becomes one with your skin as you wear it, and anytime I wear it, it literally, I mean, it looks a little bit stressful at the moment, but like, it just looks like my skin but healthy and glowy. And I really love this. I used to be a full coverage foundation ass bitch when I first started makeup, but since discovering this, like, my skin has never looked prettier. And now that we've slapped it on my face, I'm gonna be using my sponge. I'm gonna pick up the rest of the product on the back of my hand just so there's no waste. This sponge is from Beauty Bay. I love these sponges because I think they're about £8 each, and they come in a pack of 2. They're really soft. They last really nicely. I just love this sponge. I do like the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion sponge as well. I don't know why I'm holding my finger up like this, Jesus Christ. I do like that sponge as well, but I really love this one. I love the shape. It reminds me of a beauty blender, but it also has that flat edge right there, which I really love. I also like applying Glow Lust with a brush, but I find that sponge works better. It just kind of like melts into your skin a little bit easier. And it does take away a little bit of the coverage. Do you see that? Like, my skin just, it looks like skin. And since the Selenite shade really matches my skin tone, I find that I don't need to blend this down my neck. Sometimes I do, but for the most part I don't, because the color match is pretty good. Here's a close-up of my skin with just the Glow Lust. As we can still see my acne through it, and it doesn't cling to any of the dry patches in my skin. I do have a few active breakouts on my chin though. Okay, we're gonna go on to concealer now. The concealer that I use is from Uoma Beauty. This is the Stay Woke concealer, and I'm in the shade Fair Lady T1. This is my second tube of this stuff. This is my favorite concealer of all time, and the way that I like to apply it, the very popular method right now, is I put a little bit on the inner corner, a little bit on the outer. And you may have noticed that I didn't put any Glow Lust under my eyes. I find that if you put any like foundation product close to your eye, that's just another layer on your under eyes, and you want to minimize the amount of layers. I'm just gonna blend that out with the flat side of the sponge. I love this flat side because it really hugs my under eyes so nicely. And this concealer does dry fairly fast, so you kind of have to be quick with it. but this is my favorite concealer for a very good reason. It's very good if you have oily skin because it does dry down completely matte. It doesn't really crease. I do find because I do have a very prominent like under eye crease, it can settle into that, but it doesn't crease very badly on me. It lasts really nicely, the color match is really nice, and it does dry matte. I'm just gonna add a tiny bit more just right here where I have a bit more darkness. I like to apply my concealer in very thin layers. I find if you apply too much, it creases. Now with the rest of the concealer, I'm just gonna apply a tiny bit on my cheeks where I have a little bit more redness, a tiny bit on my chin, and a little bit on the forehead, and that's all. I'm not gonna conceal any of my breakouts or any of my acne scars, because no matter what you do, at least in my experience, no matter what products I've used, nothing really covers scarring well. Scarring will always show through, even when I had like really bad acne and I wore like Kat Von D tattoo foundation. Like I wore thick full coverage foundation, it would still show through. So I find that if I just let my breakouts and everything show off, it just makes your skin look more natural because you can see the imperfections in it. But I do like to add a slight bit more coverage in the middle of my face, just to make things a bit more uniform. And now I'm gonna set my face. I'm gonna be using the lip bar powder, and this is in the shade Buttercup Baby. This powder is fairly new to me, so I'm gonna be testing it out for y'all. I only own one powder at a time, so let's hope that this is nice. Normally I would use the Nabla close-up powder, but I finished it. But if you want a really good powder that you can buy in Europe, this Nabla pressed powder, I've gone through 2 of these. They're amazing. So I do recommend that one. I can't exactly recommend the lip bar one just yet since it is pretty new to me. But we're gonna lightly set on the under eyes. And I'm also gonna be setting my nose with this more denser brush. This brush, if you're curious, is from e.l.f. I think it's the pointed blush brush, but I like to use it for powder, like concentrated powder. And I'm just gonna set the middle of my face with this more denser brush because this is where I get oily, like right in the center, especially on my nose. Like my nose, no matter what, my nose will always slip off and slip away. Wait, hang on a minute. No, it doesn't. The makeup on my nose slips away because it's so oily and I wear glasses, so it's just not gonna happen, babes. And my forehead does get very oily, so I do like to set it down too. And even though I've set my face with powder, you can still see a slight bit of glow from the Glow Lust, which I really love. And then with a big powder brush, I'm just gonna take a little bit of that powder, tap off a little bit of the excess, and just generally powder the rest of my face. And I like to push in the powder so it really sets down the base. I don't like to swipe over it because I find if you swipe over it, it can potentially move your base underneath. Okay, now we're moving on to bronzer. I'm gonna be using my all reliable, my favorite Becca Bali Sands. This is my second one of these. This is a beautiful light glowy bronzer. I like the shade Bali Sands for my skin tone because it is nice and light. I don't like anything too dark. And instead of going right on my cheekbone right here, my cheekbone starts here, I'm gonna go a little bit higher up here. And I'm just doing light circular motions. For my face shape, I feel like if I bronze a little bit higher than normal, it kind of makes my face look a bit more lifted and nice. Obviously bronze according to your face shape, but this is the way that I like to do it. And since this bronzer isn't matte, it does have a slight glowiness to it. It just adds a nice amount of warmth and still keeps me glowy. I like to really brush it into my hairline too. And because this is light and buildable, you can kind of go ham with it. And I like to put a little bit just loosely on my nose and on my chin. Okay, moving on to blush. I'm gonna be extra and use 2 blushes for this. The first blush I'm gonna be using is from Ingrid Cosmetics, and this is the shade Carrot Cool. So with this Ingrid blush, I'm gonna take a tiny bit, it's quite powdery, and tap off the excess. And this brush, if you're curious, is from Tesco, the grocery store. I've had this for years and it served me well. So I'm just gonna apply this to the high points of my cheeks. This blush is matte, but it's very pigmented and very lovely. And we're first gonna apply a nice amount of color to the top of my cheekbones. I like to put them basically where I put highlight is where I like to put blush, like really far back and up here. And since I am gonna be putting blush across the bridge of my nose, I like to just have a tiny bit back here, but not too much. If I wasn't gonna be putting blush on the bridge of my nose, oh, you bet this would be coated. And now with this blush brush, I'm gonna squeeze it to make it a bit more like a fan shape and a bit more dense. And I'm gonna take a little bit more blush and I'm gonna put that across the bridge of my nose and a bit on my cheeks as well. And I'm gonna apply a really heavy amount. I recently discovered this blush shape this year, and I think it flatters my nose so nicely. I don't have the skinniest nose, it's very triangular, Illuminati-esque we should say. But putting blush here, it just kind of looks like a sunburn, but because it looks like a sunburn, it just looks quite natural. How many times have I said it looks natural in this video? Too many times. It probably doesn't look like a lot on camera, but trust me, in person, I am very blushed right now. And don't worry, I did not forget about the Nabla Skin Glazing Blush in Truth. We're going to be layering this on top of where we put that first blush. The reason why I like to go in with this blush after I put the matte one down is because this adds a nice glow to your skin, but I find that if I just use this and I don't layer it on top of something a bit more matte, because I like to apply a lot of blush, it can look a little bit weird. It's okay if you do like a nice layer by itself, but because I like a heavy blush moment, I think it's more fun to layer this. So I'm just gonna be putting that mostly on the cheeks right here. I'm not gonna be putting this on my nose, just gonna be applying it on my cheekbones because then it adds a nice sheen to your skin. I don't know if you're really gonna see it on camera, but in person you can really tell. And because I went really heavy-handed, I'm just gonna take my sponge and just gently pat over everything. And we're now gonna move on to a step which isn't fully necessary, but I like to do it, and I'm gonna be adding fake freckles. Now, I don't have a fake freckle product. I don't have Freck or the Kimchi Chic Beauty one, and I really want to try it one day, but my favorite way to do freckles, at least right now, is use an eyeshadow, and I'm going to be using Stitch Up from the Glamonatrix U Beauty palette. This shade of brown is the shade that you want. I naturally get a lot of freckles on my nose right here when I'm in the sun, and I'm just going to take a tiny bit of that eyeshadow on this brush. This is a watercolor brush. And I'm just gonna dot them all around my nose. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see them. Try and change the density of your brush, so do some lighter splotches and then some darker ones, because freckles aren't all the same color and size. I also like to put freckles in between my brows and around my brows on my forehead, because again, that's where I get freckles, typically. I also like to fill in my beauty mark here and tap it in. And once that is all done, I like to take the back of my sponge again and just tap over where I've applied the freckles. And then over top of the blush, I like to take my blush brush with no more product on it and tap over to make them look the most natural as possible. Okay, we're looking hella cute, if I do say so myself. For highlighter, my favorite glowy highlighter is from Juvia's place, and this is the Tribe highlighter in volume 3. I'm so sorry that the birds are chirping so loudly. This is the most wet looking natural toned highlighter in my collection. I love it so much. Clearly I have pan in it. It's so glowy and wet. Skye using a natural toned highlighter. What is this? As much as I love colourful highlighters, when I want my skin to look the most, like, again, natural, I find using a champagne toned highlighter for my skin tone works really lovely. And I'm just gonna hit the very high points of my cheekbones. I'm not wetting my brush because this highlight really doesn't need it. Can we see that? Beautiful. And this highlighter is hella icy, I must admit. It's quite intense. Okay, the final step, we're gonna set everything in with the Urban Decay All-Nighter Setting Spray. This has been my tried and true for years and years and years. If you want your makeup to stay on longer, especially if you have oily skin, this is the one. I'll never stray from her, she just works. I'm just gonna chuck on a lip gloss real quick. This is Kaleidos Dramatize, and this is the finished result. Anyways, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do let me know if this was helpful to you. Would you like some more in-depth talk-through videos? Let me know. If you'd like to see more makeup content from me, then follow me on my Instagram. It's Beauty by Skye right here. I post all of my looks there and I'm active on there every single day. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you here. And as always, stay safe, wash your hands, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.